observed any what I would figure was abuses to the travel policy or the meal allocation or anything, whether it was for any county employee or any member of the Board of Supervisors then or now. I just haven't seen it. So I think we're making a big issue out of, I don't see the problem here. I mean, I don't see the abuse. Everybody goes, and there may be variations in how somebody interprets this, and there has been. I was caught up in the middle of this, of the way I interpreted it and the way it was said and all that. But frankly, I just haven't seen not many abuses. I haven't seen any abuse of what I've seen as far as the travel policy, and that's just, I wanted to state that because I don't see the problem.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to move this along, I think that the point about living within its budget, I mean, that's what the CEO is here for, to make sure that all departments live within their budget. So I think that issue will be figured out. So I think we got to move forward with this. I think that Supervisor Colfax, though, raises a very valid point. The language that is used, that is underlined here, that we're voting on today, is extracted from the Board of Supervisors policy. However, it isn't extracted in total. And the point he makes is that the Board of Supervisors has to live with more constraints with respect to the overnight stays. So my suggestion would be sometime down the line, we maybe perhaps look at that with respect to the Board of Supervisors policy. But I think we ought to move forward with this. I think it's clear. I think that what is being asked for is legitimate, and we should take up the matter with maybe making the supervisors policy consistent with this at a future date. So having said that, and I also agree with Supervisor Colfax, the drive from Boonville is not an easy one. During my 17-year tenure as a county employee, I had the occasion to travel the entire county because I worked for a program that we were in Covelo, we were in the South Coast, and I often used a county car, and quite honestly, the county cars that were given to the coast were not of the caliber of the ones that were usually inland. Those were the reject cars, and when they figured that they were going to be subjected to rust and coastal conditions, we got the worst ones, and they were left there. They were kind of just rusting, and that's what we were given. And they were parked outside, and they were not as in good. They were not maintained in the same way that the inland ones were, because I had on occasion the opportunity to drive those as well. When I traveled out of county, I always got one from the county garage here. But the only time that I ever had a serious occasion of a weather condition was actually on the Boonville Road, and it was under very early morning severe weather conditions, and my county car completely spun around on one of those turns. It can be very treacherous on the Boonville-Ukiah Road. So having added those points to the record, I support this motion, and I'll move the recommended action.
Okay. My simple little use of 10 minutes here is now taking 40, and there is a motion before, so I hear a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been seconded. My only comments are I hearken back to my 6 principles that I asked this board to adhere to for this year, making your decisions based on science and not emotion, and agreeing to disagree rather than being disrespectful to each other. So with that comment, I'll call for the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, thank you very much.
Comment, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly.
In Covelo, we don't have bus service or a polling place.
Okay, moving right along to item 9A, a timed item for 11 a.m. Presentation by MCOG regarding Laytonville traffic calming and the revitalization plan. Estimated for 15 minutes, I do believe.
Give or take a half an hour.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Phil Dow with Mendocino Council of Governments. This project began in 2005 with MCOG applying for a community-based transportation planning grant through Caltrans to look at various types of traffic calming and revitalization efforts in the Laytonville area. We were successful in that grant and went ahead and proceeded with actually conducting this effort, most of which was last year. In wrapping this particular study up, the Mendocino Council of Governments actually met up in Laytonville in October and had quite of an extensive review of the product of this particular effort. We also had a presentation again a couple of months ago at one of our meeting and wrapping up this particular project, and two of the supervisors, of course, serve on the MCOG board, and so Supervisor Colfax and Supervisor Pinches are going to be hearing this for the third time, but I'm sure that they're going to be happy with what they hear. Why we want to present to the Board of Supervisors is this is a grant program. We went through our process. We administered the grant. We were fortunate to have some quality people working on it at the LMAC, the Community Advisory Committee in Laytonville. And Allison Purnell, who stands beside me, lives in the community, and she works with the local government commission and had a great deal to do with the success of this particular project. And with that, I'll stand by and let Allison proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dow.
Thank you, Phil, and good morning, Chairman and members of the board. As Phil mentioned, I'm Allison Purnell. I'm a project manager with the nonprofit Local Government Commission. The Local Government Commission was a sub-recipient of this grant project, and we coordinated very closely with MCOG staff over the last 2 years of this project. I thought I'd take just a couple of minutes to set the context, the local context for this project, because the little community of Laytonville is facing many changes, some of which are pretty exciting, but you probably know about the Caltrans Safety Project, which is scheduled for construction in spring of this year. As soon as it dries out, we hear that they're going to be starting construction. That is a vertical curve realignment at the intersection of Branscombe Road, Dos Rios Road, and Highway 101. And it's going to also include some transportation enhancements, about $300 worth of pedestrian enhancements, including, at the community's request, hitching posts for horses, because horses are actually a bona fide mode of transportation in Laytonville. So we may be the first community to have Caltrans installed hitching posts on the 101 in the last 50 to 100 years. No one's disputed the claim yet.
As long as they don't cost equal to Air Force hammers and et cetera, so.
I think it's much less. The purpose of the Caltrans Safety Project is to address the safety issues in Laytonville. Basically, there are more traffic incidents, some fatalities at that intersection that I mentioned than there should be for a state highway route of its capacity and size. And recently there was another example of high, speeds that were too high along our main street, which is Highway 101, where yet another big rig collided with the same poor Main Street building and took out another section of it. So having the highway run through downtown Laytonville, while it can be looked at as an opportunity, there are some real safety challenges with that as well. And so that's the impetus for the Caltrans projects. Just something to keep in mind also is that once the Willits bypass is completed, Laytonville and Hopland are going to be the only two towns with their central business district on Highway 101 on that 300-mile stretch between San Francisco and Eureka. And that's a real opportunity. That's an opportunity for Hopland. That's an opportunity for Laytonville. So we